Hello and welcome to Copperhead Road Homestead. I'm Daniel and we are doing a collaboration today with Life on Beagle Road and BigFootFarmer about our favorite plant. We're using the hashtag #favoriteplant. Come and see. All right, like I said, today we're doing a collaboration here at Copperhead Road Homestead. We're doing a collaboration with BigFootFarmer and Life on Beagle Road. And I'm really excited about doing this. A couple of great channels. I'll put their information down below. Hope you'll check them out. But we're doing our favorite plant on the homestead. And the rules for the collaboration are that you can choose your favorite tree, your favorite perennial, or your favorite annual, anything that grows, not an animal, and discuss why. And today I'm going to tell you about Jerusalem Artichoke. Last year, I guess it's been about 14 or 15 months or so, very early on in the year, I planted about 20 pounds worth of Jerusalem Artichoke up here near the property line. One of the reasons I planted them is because they grow very tall, and as I've said before, we planted our arbor vitae, we planted our redbud, we planted our black locust, and we planted some other things, all for a screen up there to separate the residential from the farm. We've got great neighbors and we have no problem there whatsoever. However, we are like most individuals and enjoy our privacy, and we wanted to create a divide because farms sometimes smell and farms have noises. Good fences make good neighbors, and we're making a privacy screen living fence up here. So that's one of the reasons I planted them up there, and also for the many uses of Jerusalem Artichoke. Jerusalem Artichoke create a flower that is a wonderful pollinator. I've got one that's in a very inconvenient location, so I'm going to dig that up. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I'm going to move it somewhere else, and I'm going to show you what happened with these that we had here. First, let me dig this one up and show you what it looks like. All right, so here it is, and it's quite small right now. It's very early in spring. It's going to get much larger as it gets warmer. They're in the sunflower families, so the flowers that come off of them look a lot like small sunflowers. And again, very great pollinators for the bee, and they create tubers underground, and that's what you eat of them. They also create a lot of biomass, so you can use them for mulch or whatever else that you'd like to use biomass for. I think some animals like to eat them for fodder. One of the reasons I grew them as well was for the tubers underground for our pigs, so our pigs could eat the tubers as fodder as well. And they're supposed to be much easier to grow, and they are much easier to grow than potatoes. They grow wild. That's what you want, things that grow wild and easy. We like weeds here. You've just got to find the use for the weeds. Harness the power of the weeds.
Harness the power of the weed.
I'm going to dig it up, and then we'll transplant it somewhere else. It's a little tuber. Here's the size of my finger in comparison. So it's just about the size of half my index finger. You see right here on it, this little green shoot. These are going to come out here, and they're going to produce more and more tubers. And you see the roots coming off of it over here. So I'm going to transplant this somewhere else, and what's going to happen with this one, I'll show you in a few minutes. This one will become dozens next year, especially if I do nothing at all with it. I'll show you where we planted them last year, and I didn't bother them at all. I just left them there, and they get up about 10, 12 feet tall. They get up quite tall if you let them. Where there was one before, now there are literally dozens around there. Let's get this plant somewhere else. If you've watched my previous videos, I've planted some comfrey. I propagated some comfrey, and I'll put a link to it up here. And I put it around my strawberries. I've also planted some sugar baby watermelons and some other things over here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to dig a hole right here for it. I'm just going to put it here and put a flag next to it, and that way maybe it'll get left alone. This really isn't the proper time to transplant or to plant Jerusalem artichokes. It's best to do it when they're in the fall or when they're dormant. They're like tubers. You put them in the ground and then you just wait. And you can do them the same way that you would potatoes, that you can cut them and let them scab over, and then you can plant them after that. If you have them in nice loose soil, that would be a whole lot better. I didn't put them all in very loose soil, so some of them didn't do quite as well as they could have. But this is very loose soil, so it'll make plenty of room for the roots, and it won't get too waterlogged, and it won't rot in there. So here's my Jerusalem artichoke. Hopefully that'll turn into more and more, and that's what I want. I'll tell you why in a minute. As I said, Jerusalem artichokes are really fabulous plants, and the reason they're fabulous is because they create more food per square foot than any other food. They create more than potatoes, and they're much easier than potatoes. They're supposed to be healthier for you than potatoes, according to some. One of the reasons I like them so much is because you plant them and then you leave them alone. and that's a really wonderful thing. Let me show you where some are up here. All right, up here next to the property line, and let me give you a look a bit better. I planted one tuber here last year, about 14, 15 months ago or so. I planted one tuber right here, and this last year, one shot up. So only one plant shot up here, but it created all those tubers, and it goes out and out and out, and they spread. And now I've got, let me see if I can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh yeah, there's at least 20 right here in this location. And if you scoot over, there's more. See here? So there's some there, there's some here, and there's some all along up here. One of the things that we want to do with our property and our food forest is to let it be, taking care of itself. So if I can plant this and then leave it alone, leave it to its own designs for the most part, maybe just a little bit of maintenance, maybe a little bit of push and nudge here and there, then that is what we want. This is one of my favorite plants because of the pollinators, because it's wild and it thrives here, because it produces a great deal of food. It can be part of our survival pantry, and because they're supposed to be really healthy for you. So you've got probiotics and prebiotics, and prebiotics are supposed to feed the probiotics, and these Jerusalem artichokes are filled with these prebiotics. There's not a whole lot of hype about prebiotics, but they're really great for you too. What you want to do with these is to wait until you have a hard frost and then harvest them. And the reason you do that is because before that, it's filled with all sorts of inulin. Inulin in them really makes you quite gassy. They're also called sunchokes. They're not got anything to do with Jerusalem. There's some debate about where that name came from, and I hope that you'll stay tuned to my channel. I hope that you'll subscribe, because I'm going to do another one later on in the year. I'm going to do several other videos, and you'll see the growth of them through this year. Right now they're just babies, and you saw what they look like with that tiny tuber, and they create more tubers. If you want them to create more tubers and to focus their growth there instead of to the flowers and instead of upward, then whenever they get about chest high, then you can cut them, and they don't produce quite as well of a screen there, but they create more energy into those tubers. And that's probably what I'm going to try to do this year. I've got a bunch of other things planted up here for that screen and for other things. And one of the other reasons that I really like these is that instead of having to pick them up and store them, you can just leave them in the ground until you need them. You know, take up space in your root cellar or in your house or anywhere. In fact, they do better just leaving them in the ground. So whenever you want to have an artichoke dinner, artichokes for supper, then you just come out here and you dig some up, and you don't have to worry about making sure that they stay planted either. You could dig up every single artichoke that you can find in this area, and next year you will have missed one and you will have artichokes spring up. So for that reason, artichokes are my favorite. This is a collaboration with Life on Beagle Road and BigFootFarmer. All three of us would love if you would participate as well. If you are a YouTube creator, you can use that hashtag #favoriteplant. I love hashtags. There's an area right underneath that has the hashtags, homesteading, planteveryday, favorite plant. And you can click on that hashtag and you can find all the other videos who have used it. So if you want to do that, tell us what your favorite plant on the homestead is and why it's your favorite plant, then I would love to watch that, and we would love to include you in this collaboration as well. If you like this video, like it and subscribe. Check out Life on Beagle Road, check out BigFootFarmer, and come back again tomorrow. Thanks.